Welcome everyone and everybody. Luxeley is getting micro with Shadow Priest macros. Some of these macros are contingent on glyphs, some on talents. Most of them only are usable in certain situations, whether it be arena or BGs, RBGs, etc., etc. There's a burst macro that you could use that's in there, and I'm also showcasing 10 different priest transmogs. All you have to do is look at the number in the video corresponding with the number in the description, get a link to that video, find specifics on how to pick up that transmog. Hope you like what you see. Leave a like and be subscribed. If you choose the Glyph of Fade, which gives you a 10% damage reduction, or Phantasm, the talent at the level 30 tier, this is great for self-peeling and damage reduction. It's a one-touch macro, one-click macro, because Fade is not on the global cooldown. So all you can do is click it, instant Fade, 10% damage reduction, or snares removed, or both, and Spectral Guise make things a little bit slippery and tricky. Both abilities are on a 30-second cooldown, so it works flawlessly. If you're into basically keep binding one less button, this is for you. It's a shift modifier macro, so that modifier could either be shift, it could be alt, it could be control, it's your choice. So this saves you a little bit of space and I think makes things very efficient, especially if you're using Insanity, which now can be used on a group with Mind Shear. So if it's a single target and you have Insanity up, Mind Flay, if you want to burst down a group of people like that are standing by a flag, it's Mind Shear. That works perfect with Insanity. I noticed my damage was a little off, and part of the reason was I wasn't using Vampiric's Touch as much as I should, and certainly not using Shadow Word Pain as much as I should. This will help with that, and it just makes things very convenient. It's a very simple cast sequence macro with a 5-second reset. You can set it to 6 seconds, whatever your Mind Blast cooldown is. This only works if you're using Clarity of Power to get that instant Mind Blast, because it's double click, do a little bit of extra damage, and then it's automatic reset once Mind Blast resets. For a very long time, I kind of had a space saver where I kind of use my canceled deterrence with my kill shot on my hunter. And it doesn't interfere with kill shot, doesn't interfere with canceled deterrence. It works. It worked. It worked for like 3 years, and I don't know why it took me 3 years to figure out, hey, this will work with dispersion as well, and it does. So if you want to get that quick damage buff, or you just want to get out of dispersion, because once you disperse, people disperse. They know they're not going to do damage to you, so they run away. This will not interfere with Shadow Word Death procs, and it works like a charm. Just trust me, it works. If you use a glyph that reverses Leap of Faith, in other words, you go to your target as opposed to your target coming to you, which is something that really works pretty well in twos, especially against dual melees. But you could use that glyph and use this, so mouse over target makes it a lot easier, or if you just want to have your target come to you, this mouse over macro works perfectly, and I think it's a lot better because you don't necessarily have to lose the target that you have. Trust me, darn good macro. If you're doing RBGs or Arena, your Fortitude is going to get dispelled quite a bit, mostly by accident. They're usually trying to dispel something else. So you kind of want to have a quick reset ready to go. And this will constantly keep you rebooting Fortitude, especially in arenas and RBGs. And it's a 2-click sequence to also get Fear Ward. Now, if you're using Power Infusion, this is a really, really good macro to have, because you could hit Power Infusion and then quickly hit this macro. Gives it a shot that maybe Fortitude would be dispelled instead of your Power Infusion, and it's only 2 extra clicks. Now, I guess you could call this a finisher macro. Now, I don't necessarily like using this macro. I don't even use it anymore. But the reason I do have it is because I know people like to have things set up in one button. So this is kind of your burst macro. And the reason I put Spectral Guise in there is just so maybe it gives you a better chance if you're against mages or you're against a shaman or a disc priest. It gives you a little bit of a better chance not to have Power Infusion dispelled. Just because it's dispellable doesn't necessarily mean I don't want to use it. I mean, Mage's Icy Veins is dispellable. Does that mean mages don't use it? No, they do. And I'm going to try to use Power Infusion as much as possible and a little trickery to keep it from being dispelled. Back in MOP, I always kept a Rolling Hot on me, and a Rolling Hot was a sequence of Renew and Prayer of Mending. It was a double touch macro, and I didn't have to leave Shadow Form. Now you leave Shadow Form, and Prayer of Mending has a cast time, and it's not as good as it used to be, quite honestly. But if you want to use it, you could set this up with a 10-second reset, so it automatically resets once the cooldown on Prayer of Mending is finished. So if you want to keep that Rolling Hot on you, if you have the time to stop and cast such a thing and then immediately go back into Shadow Form, this is pretty good macro for you. Now this is one of two ways you could go with your CC. So this is perfect for something like Silence, something like Psychic Horror, even your Dispel. The XYZ is just you fill in the spell that you want. And basically what this will do is, if you have a target and you don't have a mouse over, it's going to silence your target. If you have a target and you mouse over somewhere else, it will silence your mouse over. That's the way it works. It's really, really useful. Not as efficient in Arena, though, because of the speed involved, the quickness that you need to use it that is involved. Now this is your standard Arena macro with modifiers. This way I don't have to have 6 different macros. But this also works, but it has a limitation in Arena too, because if there is a facing requirement with this, it's almost better that you just target your target with a mouse over and use the other macro. So it's just a question of comfort, what's easier for you, but then rather than using 6 different types of macros, you could kind of set it up with these modifiers, the shift, the alt, you could even use control, but that's how you set it up.